If you want to see the worst example of this form of cronyism, think about when we all watched Henry Paulson. Everybody remember Henry Paulson? Yeah, Secretary of the Treasury. He pushed billions of dollars of your taxpayer money across the table to whom? The big banks. And there's some of you, I think somebody mentioned over here, where was Henry Paulson before he went to the Treasury? He was the CEO of Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs. Let me talk a little bit about my role in the banking system. I mentioned earlier I was the chief financial officer in banking for more than a decade. Our bank was a full-service bank, but we specialized in originating mortgage loans. Our specialization in mortgage loans was, let's call it, encouraged by government loans and regulations. The Community Reinvestment Act, which many of you are probably aware of, CRA, required that regulators classified banks into 4 different categories. If you were in the bottom 2 categories, it meant death to your bank. The regulators told us that we must make certain loans to low-income and high-risk borrowers. Pat is trying to tell me something with a wet sign over there. You have an announcement? Jared has an announcement? Well, we take this break for a station identification. All right, let's hear it for free market parking. Free market parking. Okay. So as I was saying before our commercial announcement, the regulators told us we would have to make low-income, high-risk loans to get an acceptable CRA rating. When we pushed back and said making these loans was a bad business decision, they told us not to worry. We should simply originate or make the loans, and then we could sell them to 2 entities known as, yes, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. We had a risk-free money-making machine here. We earned origination fees by making the loans. We made servicing fees by receiving the payments each month and passing them on to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. And the loans were no longer at risk because we had already sold them to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. But guess who was on the hook for the risk? You, the taxpayer. Let's talk a little bit about the condition of our current financial health in this country. The national debt now exceeds, what? $12 trillion. That's more than $39,000 per individual, not per family. And this is only the figure the federal government reports. Let me put on my CPA cap here for a minute and let you know up front, private enterprise couldn't get away with these kind of financial reporting practices. In addition to the $12 trillion, the federal government has tens of trillions of dollars in off-balance sheet and off-budget liabilities. A conservative estimate of federal government liabilities is now $100 trillion. How much? $100 trillion. Remember that figure of $39,000 per individual based on the $12 trillion. What I want you to do now is take out your checkbook, write out a check payable to the United States Treasury for $300,000. Pat's going to collect these in just a moment. That'll clean up the current mess, and then the government will come back to you for more money as needed. As you probably know, too, we talked about this on my Free Markets radio show, the federal government is artificially holding down interest rates. Anybody know what the current Fed funds rate is?
0.
Yeah, it's right at 0. Okay, it's in the plus column, just barely. Isn't it possible that interest rates could double or even triple from this level?
Oh, yeah.
The answer is yes. Interest rates will eventually rise. The Fed cannot hold them down forever. If that's true, and the interest expense of the federal debt is now $500 billion a year, think in terms that interest rates double. My question to Washington is, how will the interest be paid on this much debt? I don't have the answer. I'm just asking the question. The time has come to stop talking in terms of reducing the budget of various government programs and agencies. The time has come to abolish entire federal government programs and agencies. Whereas Congressman Ron Paul is known as Dr. No in the House of Representatives, I will be known as Dr. Abolish in the U.S. Senate. I am committed to abolishing federal programs and agencies, not to creating new ones. How many of you are still in favor of auditing the Fed? Be prepared to be frightened. I was looking at some of their financial statements the other night, and they don't make a bit of sense to a CPA. So I'm sure once the doors are open to an audit, you will be frightened. How many of you are still committed to ending the Fed after we find out exactly what's going on? I hope that's all of you. Let me conclude by saying, stop wasting your vote. If you are voting for big government Democrats, or if you're voting for big government Republicans, you are voting for more of the same. Tell Washington you have had enough. Stop wasting your vote. Vote for somebody who has earned your vote with a commitment to smaller government. I hope to earn your vote for the U.S. Senate in 2010. Together we can stop this madness. Thank you for your support. Give it up for Dr. Beitler.
Woo! Thank you.
All right, in case you guys had not yet, now would be the time.